Hey everyone, welcome back to the Girl of Gen Z podcast. I am your host, Clarissa, and today's podcast recording was actually done in a little bit of a different fashion. It was my first online video call podcast. So this was actually recorded on Skype, so please bear with me if the audio is not perfect. I'm still trying to find the best online video calling software for podcasts. Today's guest is named Desiree Piper, also known as Desb Fit, also known as Des. Des is a health and wellness educator, and I guess you would consider her a influencer as well. She's on multiple social media platforms, and she has quite a large following. So today we talked a little bit about what it's like being an IFBB Pro card holder, the life afterwards, her business, and what being a sponsored athlete is really like, along with being an affiliate or an athlete for a brand. Before we get into the podcast, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to not forget to give this podcast a 5-star rating, leave a comment, and subscribe to the Girl of Gen Z. These little things do more than you'll ever know, so I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to do so. And as always, in the show notes, we'll have the timestamps so you guys can kind of follow along with the topics that we cover throughout this episode, and of course, the social media links for Des and I. So without further ado, let's get on started with this podcast. All right, good morning, Desiree Piper, also known as Des. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How was your morning?
It was good. Woke up. I actually been doing yoga once a week. So had a good class, kind of like just a good flow. I don't know. It makes me feel good in the morning. How was yours?
It was good. It was good. Just like got up, did a couple emails, made a couple calls. But yeah, nothing crazy for a Monday. Your dog's jumping in again. Do you want to start off with sharing a little bit about yourself so my listeners have an idea of who you are and what you do on all these platforms?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you again, first and foremost, for having me on. I think podcasts and collabs in general, like we're all just so much better together. And so I think it's so fun when we can collab and share each other's socials and links and things that we like work on together. It's just such a beautiful form. So thank you for having me on and thinking of me. But my name's Des. I go by Desb. Used to formerly be Desb Fit. So I kind of started in this pure fitness phase. I went into competing, kind of feel like as everyone does when they kind of first want to transform their body. Ended up going pro, became a bikini pro, got engaged, got married over a span of like 2 years, and kind of capped off the competing part of my life. And now I've just been focusing on my, growing business as well as my health and lifestyle, but not in the extreme phase kind of that I was in before. So that's like a very brief synopsis. So yes, I would be considered a Fitspo, but I definitely want to say that my page and what I stand for is like way more broad than that.
Gotcha. So what kind of title would you give yourself? Like an influencer or
I would just call myself maybe like a health and wellness influencer, if you want to call it. I think we're all influencers. Like I hate that word because everyone has the opportunity to influence, no matter like literally who you are, not even on social media, like just in life you can influence people. So that word being thrown at like a specific category of people almost like irritates me, because it's like, hey, you have just as much of an opportunity to influence as I do. So that's just like a side note, but I would definitely just call myself a health and wellness educator. There we go. That's more fun.
I like it. I like it. Sounds so profesh too. Educator.
I'm like adding to my LinkedIn.
And how old are you?
I am 24. I'll be 25 in April.
Wow, that's so exciting. That's
I know
so
it's kind of
exciting.
crazy. I'm like, I remember looking at 25-year-olds being like, "Oh my gosh, they have so much going on," and and I'm looking at myself like, "Wow, I also have a lot going on."
That's hilarious.
Yes, literally. I'm like, I'm now that person, so that's exciting.
So we're going to start a little bit with your fitness background, I guess. So obviously you are an IFB Pro card holder. Um, let's dive a little bit into that. So how did you kind of get started into fitness, and what was the process of competing like, and how has your journey changed since?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think a lot of people immediately just want to know about how competing was versus then following it up with what is it like now? What happens after competing? I think a lot of people just kind of like phase out and don't talk about it. So I like being able to kind of open up about it. So when I started in bodybuilding, I want to say I started back in like my college athletic days. So we would have to do a lot of strength and conditioning to obviously keep us primed for season and off season. And during that time, our college strength coaches definitely pushed us, with weights. We were educated on squat form and push press form and sprints and agility and ladders, all these things combined. And I would always be the one to ask to come in early and do some extra stuff. So that's kind of where my passion for just being better, making myself better came from. But I was also studying exercise science in school. So I was also simultaneously kind of learning what I was doing as I was performing it as an athlete. Once 2015 came, my college athletics career came to an abrupt end. I do have a YouTube video on that, kind of just explaining what happened to me, but came to an end. And at that point, I got into a little bit of CrossFit because that's what my dad was in. I competed in a few competitions in CrossFit. I was by no means like Brooke Wells or anything crazy, but I had this passion to still like be the best CrossFitter, and ended up being like way too hard on my body, which I feel like for the general population it is. So always be careful with that. But I was just like, how can I now transform my body? I made myself stronger. I made myself diverse, if you want to call it. How can I get into something that now I can look different? And that's where I found bodybuilding. Someone approached me in a gym and was just like, "Do you compete?" And I'm like, "Compete in what?" And they're like bikini. And I was just like mind blown. I'm like, "What is bikini competitions? What the heck is that?" And they kind of briefed me about it. Went home, Googled it, and like literally immediately found a coach. I needed that next
Step.
competition. Yeah, I was like, sports are over, so how can I again compete in a way that's not like a marathon or a triathlon? So I found my coach, just a local guy to me. Competed, time goes on. I compete 2 times, won both, took a year and a half, 17 months to be exact, off, and then started prep again for my pro card. During that time, I did 3 total shows. So I've only done 5 total shows. I did one regional show, which then I qualified for my national show, did a national show, came in ninth. Kind of got some critique back on like my physique, and I was kind of like blown away, but I was way too lean, which is just, it's interesting. It's a very fine balance in bodybuilding. Went to my second national show, won the whole thing, and then went pro. So after that experience, I was very much, I was committed to going to the next level. So then I was like, okay, well, I want to be Miss Bikini Olympia. And then about 4 months after I won, we moved to Florida, my husband and I. Now my husband and I. At the time, we had got engaged in September of that same year, and it was just an immediate shift of mindset of, I can't be selfish anymore. I have this other person that, sure, he's been in my life for 4 years, but now it was just a different appreciation of, this guy is about to be my husband, and this sport is so selfish. So after that, I kind of was like, never say never, but I don't plan to compete. Fast forward a year, we got married. Fast forward to now, I'm just at that point where I'm finally recovered from that mental state of which I saw my body and even food as a competitor. Not by any means disordered, but it is definitely just a weird mental state. That's the only way I can really put it. It's not an overall issue, but it is something that it comes with bodybuilding. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Now I've never been more lax in my fitness journey while still striving to be the best me. But that's kind of, long story short, kind of where it was, full-fledged fire for passion competing, to now I respect it. Great for you. It taught me a lot. But I just want to continue to educate people on the normalities of health and fitness.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So some follow-up questions to that then.
Yeah.
What is your definition of selfish during that time?
Yeah. So selfish during that time was very much, there was no date nights. There was no going out to eat. If we did go out to eat, it was always sushi and froyo, which was always fun for us. However, it would result in me eating until I was sick. So then the rest of the night, I would go home and sleep. Like there was no, it wasn't functional. And along with that was, I didn't go visit home because I knew if I would go home, I'd have to bring my food scale, and I would know that if my family wanted to get our favorite like hometown pizza joint, I would get mad. Going to, birthday parties or cookouts, whatever, I would just have like a piss attitude because you're around food, you can't eat. It just wasn't healthy. So the selfishness wasn't only to my, at the time, boyfriend, then fiance, now husband, but it was also just to my family and those around me, as well as those on social media. All I did was like post ab shots. Like, how does that make you feel better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's like all I had that like kind of kept me going was the fact that I looked good. So it becomes very selfish and almost narcissistic. It definitely can for some people. I can't say I got to exactly that, level of just pure narcissism, but it's an interesting thing to watch. And now seeing other people go through it from the, outside view, I'm just like, wow, like I can see that now.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like you have a totally different perspective after looking back on the entire experience. Like, what was the duration of years that you did your competing?
So I competed for the first time in 2016, started that prep in March, and then competed September, October.
Gotcha.
And then 2018, I competed, started prep in February, ended in July. So it wasn't like a long like I wasn't like prepping for like years, but it was that lifestyle still in between that I was very rigid, very focused. Although I had leeway, I didn't want to take it because I didn't want to mess up that next show or whatever it was. So it was still like a lingering prep the whole time. It was never really an off season because mentally I couldn't be off, if that makes sense.
So how was your support system during this time period? Like, how would your now husband um, react to situations like that? Like, was he supportive? Would he be bummed out? A little bit of both?
Yeah, I think that for the most part, we started dating actually in 2015 around literally when my prep started. That's when we started dating. So he really like has seen me evolve and to go through it all. And from the beginning, he was always very supportive. Like there was never a you shouldn't do that or like anything, nothing like that. But I definitely know that it caused strain on our relationship, and he had to like have a lot of patience with me and a lot of understanding that maybe even at times it was like seriously like or maybe he was upset or didn't want to come over. Like I know he's mentioned that before. Like he's like, I remember back in college, like when you were in your first prep, like there would be days like I didn't want to come over because I would just know you would be like angry, hangry, and like just go to bed. But he still did, and he showed up and supported and stuff. But my family, on the other hand, in my first prep was very unsupportive. They didn't really understand not only the sport but understand why it was so revealing, if you want to call it that. I come from a very religious family, so it was, I don't want to say they shunned me out, but they just didn't care. They didn't want to ask, they didn't want to see it. They didn't really care. And then after that first prep, and I did well, they kind of came around just curious, whatever. And then as I continued to go, they saw what I was doing simultaneously with my Instagram, growing my following and having a business. They then came to understand, the purpose of what I was doing and how it was setting me up for this rapport in the fitness community being built. So it wasn't like gung ho at first. It still wasn't gung ho second time around, but they at least were like very proud and understanding of what I was doing at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sometimes it does. Well, I'm gonna say, I guess it depends on the family, but it does take some time to let something like that sink in for people who don't fully understand. Like you said, the sport. It's
Mm-hmm.
your lifestyle, not theirs. So they're trying to understand from the outsider perspective, and clearly you made a thing out of it in the end. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that they had a bajillion questions as it went forward.
Yeah, no, they, like I said, they came around, they started asking, they started wondering how things were going. But once I got out of prep, and especially like this past Christmas, this was the first Christmas where I just like didn't care because I was like I wasn't competing. This is just like my life now, and we just had such an amazing time. And I know that it's very, they might not say it to me, and they have a few times I guess in conversation, but just how much happier and how much healthier I look and how much healthier even mentally. Like, you know, I come off, and if you want to call it like my aura, you know, like it's just kind of a healthier, happier person versus someone who's constantly like living in anxiety and constantly questioning like if I look good enough, which we all still have our bad days, don't get me wrong, but totally different drastic thought processes.
Right, right. So did they come to any of your shows?
My dad did. My dad did, and then my in-laws did. My mom and sister and like little brother, well, obviously my little brother, like I would never let him come, to be honest. He's only 12, like doesn't need to see that. But no one else really could, only because it was like a drive or we had to fly to the show. So as much as they wanted to, maybe the second time around, they just simply couldn't. But my dad did go to one show, so that was kind of cool.
What was his opinion on the process? Because did he ever compete, or was he just
He never competed, but he's the one that got me into like CrossFit. So he does like the CrossFit competitions. He does everything. He is like super athlete, even at his age now. So he's the one that kind of pushed me into just keep going. And so he was always the one where I could tell him how my prep was going, or he would ask and actually understand like when I say my macros are low. Like he understands because he gets nutrition. But like my mom, it would just be over her head. So she just didn't really ask. But I was never offended because I just knew it would end up in a maybe a tiff of right, like, oh well, like I didn't really care to hear your opinion. I just wanted to vent. So I would just call my dad.
gotcha, gotcha. I mean, sometimes one pair is good for one thing, one's good for the other.
So
So
they got to balance each other out. So you get it.
exactly. So what kind of program are you following now? Did you create your own? Do you have a coach for anything, or do you kind of just do whatever you feel when you go to the gym?
Yeah, so I've been following my own challenges and my own programs that I've been creating. So ever since I stopped having a coach. That was this past August, right before my wedding. I kind of prepped a little bit for my wedding. Then I got rid of my coach, and I started doing like my own bride guide, which was really fun to share because a lot of girls have done it with me who have actually like been married, like got married as well, or maybe they just got engaged and they wanted to do it and like shred for the wedding too. So it was a fun, different like demographic that I got to reach. But I did that, and then I'm doing like now my 6 weeks to slay challenge. But I did actually inquire with a new coach just because I do have like some goals for February and just going onward. Being a coach myself, it's the last thing you want to do is worry about yourself. Like your clients come first. So at the end of the day, when it comes to, okay, what does my body need? It's like, I don't even have time to think about it. I'm just hungry. So I'm just going to eat my food and not worry about, what I'm doing. So I did inquire with the coach just because I'd rather have it be a mindless thing for me and have someone help me, with what to do as well, just to kind of get me back on track.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned a little bit about your schooling. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Western Michigan University, so right in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay, and how many was that? 4 years?
Yep, yep, 4 years on the dot. I was in and
Okay.
out.
Did you live on res, or were you?
Oh, it's so sad because I always wanted that like dorm experience. But the first year of college, I actually went to community college and played volleyball there. So the first year, since it's community college, I automatically went into an apartment. And then once I transferred and got to play at my university. I ended up same thing, like being in an apartment because I then didn't need to be in the residence halls. But luckily, a lot of my friends, like part of the volleyball team, had to live on campus, so I do a lot of sleepovers and party weekends. We would just roll back to the dorm, so I kind of got that experience, but kind of sad.
You didn't get the full
I
effect,
know,
but
like the meal plans on campus and like walking around all the time, and I was just so envious of that. And some people are like, "Why?" I'm like, "So fun."
are the people that are asking you that the ones that had the experience? So they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like they just
Exactly.
think it's so normal.
I know. I'm like, no, like it's so fun. Like take advantage of it.
So I noticed you're wearing a cross on your necklace. Is
Yes.
that a fashion statement, or are you a little bit religious, or what's the kind of
Yeah,
significance?
I am religious. I love my dude, Jesus. But specifically this one, it's actually funny. It's an urn, but it's for my grandmother who passed away this past October. So I actually have like ashes in here. What's it called? In the light urns. If anyone asks, I always get questions where I get my necklace. I'm like, guys, it's actually holding my grandma. So not to be weird. But yeah, no, I still did get the cross though, just because of my beliefs and knowing where she is now. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
So I guess moving on to sponsorships and affiliates and athletes and all that.
Yeah.
So obviously, if anyone follows you, they know that you are affiliated with a few brands. You wear their clothes, use their supplements, etc. So I guess my first question is, how did you reach out to companies, or did they reach out to you? So example, Alani Nu, Buff
Mhm.
Bunny, Tula, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's in the beginning, like when I first started social media, um, first off, a lot of bigger companies like didn't exist yet because they were still growing themselves like in the industry. So when it first came out, it was like people like Quest Nutrition, um, Arctic Zero, the very like only like 3 flavors of Halo Top, and supplement companies were like Cellucor and the Gold Standard. That was it. Like there was just like GNC supplements, not
You
really.
can count them on your hands.
Yeah. So in that time, as I continued to grow my page, like smaller brands would reach out and just be like, "Hey, we want to send you stuff." I'm like, "All right, like just free stuff, period." As I got bigger, other companies started reaching out and saying, "Hey, we'll send you this stuff, but we'll also give you a code where you could make commission." So that's kind of where I learned about commission. So I would just like partner again with companies that I liked, but when you're young as an influencer, you kind of take what you can get because it shows that that your community values you. You can already have them warm to understand like, hey, I'm going to promote some products I might use instead of just being at all of a sudden 100K and you're like, hey guys, I have codes now. It's like, whoa, what? No, 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 no. So taking advantage of everything you got to continue to just show that you like to do it. Other companies kept reaching out. And then again, as I continue to grow my page, now I have these bigger companies that reached out to me versus me having to do the dirty work, right? And like email them. And they were open to sending me stuff and then also giving me, commission codes to get them, like my consumers, either percentage off, or some of them are just referral codes too, to just show support. But it's super super fun to partner with companies now that I'm older in my journey, that I truly just like love. I turn away people that I'm like absolutely not, and only like I can kind of be picky now, right? Because I have an audience that relies on me to give them true information, and reviews, versus before when it was kind of like, okay, like I'll try it and then I'll review it. Now it's just like, if I know I'm not going to like it, like I don't have time for that. So whatever my audience gets is like the purest of the pure.
Yeah, the true authentic.
Yes. Yes.
So let's go into a little bit more detail then. So Alani Nu, for example, they
Yep.
reached out to you?
Yes. Yep. I reached out. Well, Hayden and I always kind of connected, which is Katie's husband, and he hooked me up 2 years ago now with Bite Meals, which was their meal prep company. So I worked with Bite Meals for about a year and a half, and it just simply became like too high of calorie, where again, like I wasn't using it. So like I'm not going to promote that. So once that kind of like faded out and I was just like, hey, like this isn't working out, they're like, hey, not a big deal. We have the supplement company coming out and like we really want you a part of it. And of course, knowing like the value that they bring to people and how they produce their products and formulate them, I knew it wasn't going to be some like, crappy drugstore like protein powders that you find at like Walmart. No offense, do what you got to do. But for what I would want to promote, I knew it was going to be up to like my personal standards. So of course I was like, heck yeah, like I'm so excited. And I've been with them now for over a year, and I've been using them though for about a year and a half. So
Okay, so it was you and Hayden that first started connecting then.
yeah, yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then
then
him and Katie kind of like called the shots between like who they want to bring on as athletes.
right, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So then they started sending you some products, you started trying them out, and then you're like, this is great. And then that's it. You just keep
Yep.
moving this product. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then moving to Buff Bunny,
Yep.
did Heidi Summers reach out to you?
Yeah, same thing. So this was in this coming summer. That'll also be 2 years ago now that she reached out to me, sent me. This was like their first ever, or I'm sorry, this was like their second launch. Their first launch, I was the consumer. Like I was like, oh my god, like set my alarms, like type. And so I got my stuff in the mail. Immediately loved what I at the time could afford to buy. And then they reached out to me and just said like they wanted to send me a little package. Super excited to like just hear my thoughts and review it. So I had it before launch. And at this time, they didn't really have codes or like links or anything yet. So it was just purely like a word of mouth, kind of get out, the launch is coming, whatever. After that launch, then they extended the opportunity to partner with them in a non-exclusive way, which is even cooler as an influencer because sometimes when you wrap yourself into exclusivity, um, you might get paid more if depending on the company, but it sometimes can also wrap you down to where it's like, well, what if I really love this other small business, or like what if I really want to support X, Y, and Z, or even like Lululemon. Sometimes companies are weird about you wearing different clothing. So I was really glad when Heidi was super open about me just promoting what I love, and then if I love Buff Bunny, like awesome, promote it. It's kind of up to you to promote it how you want, because then the launch, how your personal launch goes, is kind of falls on you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, were there any contracts you ever needed to sign when working with different companies, being like, you can't talk about certain, like the competitor, for
Yep.
example? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, if you were to wear one clothing brand, you can't talk about the other clothing brand for a certain period of time.
Yeah. So I've done plenty of contracts with like different companies, especially like Alani. I have a contract with them, just kind of breaching, same thing. Like if there's any competitive product, I'm not gonna promote my sleep vitamins by Ollie Nutrition. You can find it like Target or whatever, when they have a sleep aid that I use. So it's kind of like those things. I'm not exclusive with any clothing company right now. So, that's kind of like I'm a free agent, if you want to call it that. And then same thing, like when I worked with Under Armour in the past, I just signed an agreement with them to like not wear X, Y, and Z brand for a 30-day period after. Um, Worked with Halo Top, couldn't promote any other low calorie ice creams for, X amount of time after. So they just cover themselves. And I think it's smart because you don't want certain people on the online that do purely ads for revenue. Like some people don't have businesses, they literally are just influencers. So for them, if they're just focusing ad to ad and they have 5 different skincare routines that they're promoting each week, that is confusing as heck. And then the other person from the week before gets shafted. So
Right.
they just cover themselves as a business, which I think is super important. And also like very respectful. It's like, heck yeah, like keep yourself covered, because people are mean and people don't care.
Yeah, dog eat dog world.
It's very true.
So because this is an interesting topic I find for a lot of people,
Yeah.
is there something that you think that influencers kind of mislead their viewers to think? Like, what's something that the viewers wouldn't know that's something that you'd like to correct or share?
I think it's just the openness of what codes do. Because I know for me, if I ever have a discount code or a referral code, like I blatantly will always tell my audience, which they respond so well to, which is why I don't understand why some people hide it. But um, they, openly telling them, hey guys, like I make a small commission on this. And if you use my code, it brings revenue into me to where I can pour it back into new plans, new graphic designer, new ring lights, new YouTube studios, new this, pouring back in my business. So I'm very open and opaque about that. Like, y'all keep me employed. I don't care. Like, I'll tell anyone that, because a lot of it, yeah, my own business is my own business to where like I run that myself, but the additional just like side hustle money, if you want to call it, comes from those that support me. So I think if there's one thing that viewers should be more aware of, and just in general influencers should be more transparent about, is where that code is going. Are you making commission off that code? Is it just a support code? Is it just showing that you referred me? Does it give you better opportunity to work with them again? Because like I'll use it. You know what I mean? If someone comes to me and they're like, use my code for Lululemon, if it does well, I might be able to model for them or something. Like I'll be like, hell yeah, like I want them to get that opportunity. So I'll use our code. So I think the transparency aspect and what you might be giving this person, especially if the product's gimmicky and you're kind of like this is weird. She's promoting that. Kind
Yeah.
of have an idea of either what this person got paid to just post it, or what they're getting now if they have like a code or any link.
Right, right. I like that you explain that because that is a very, very valid point. I do find that a lot of influencers will just say, like, oh, I appreciate it more than you know, but they never go kind of, not that they should have to, but go beyond and say, this gets poured right back into the stuff I do that you guys like to watch
Yeah.
and want to see more of. So that's such a great way of putting it because obviously people want to, you would hope to see more of that. So it makes complete
Right.
sense.
Exactly. And I think too with just like the FTC compliance, putting hashtag ad, being transparent about that, like it's technically illegal. Like if you're not disclosing that, you're making revenue off this. So even if there's like a sponsored post, a sponsored YouTube video, sponsored anything, I don't care how big or small your channel is, that needs to be disclosed because these people, they just deserve to know. That's kind of like it's kind of just rude in my opinion to keep it to yourself and just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to make all these people order this and just make profit off them without them understanding that. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, I love the transparency. I'm sure a lot of people also do really appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
moving on to like sponsored posts and such,
Yeah.
how often do you do those? Is that like depending on like certain launch dates of things? Do you have to like plan it out in ahead so it's not like sponsored post after sponsored post?
Yeah. I actually don't do a lot of sponsored posts at all. I think the only ones I've really ever done that are sponsored posts, like posting for these people, were like I've done a few with Stance socks, which like absolutely love, and it keeps me affiliated with them. So love doing that. Under Armour, I did a paid post with, and Lil Bed, which love all those products. Like I sleep on my Lil Bed every night. Like best post I've ever done. So when it comes to paid posts, those are all that I do. Everything else that I personally post, like when I repost my Tula on my Instagram story, or when I show my routine, or when I post like my beat kicks, like my beat ear covers, or my line nutrition supplements, like none of those are sponsored. It's just up to me. Like, hey, if I want to make commission, I need to show these people what I'm using. And it's also just like rude to the company to just like use their code to make money, but like also not promote brand awareness. It's like that's mean too. So I don't do a lot of actual paid posts at all. A lot of mine is like literally organic, to where if people want to use my code or they decide to do it, cool. Same with like all my Buff Bunny reviews on my YouTube. We don't have to make those. We don't have to, but again, it's up to us to get that brand awareness and show when the launches, when this, because if we want to make our revenue of commission codes being used, referral codes being used, like that's up to us. It's kind of how much work do you want to put in. But other than that, if I were to do more paid posts, sponsored posts, it would definitely need to be spaced out, just because my natural feed isn't ad. It would be very like whoa for my consumers to like see that from me.
Right. So, was that very Instagram based you were talking? Like, did you ever do a sponsored video for YouTube?
I have done I think two. I did one with like a jewelry company, which I really liked. And then I did another one with, that might have been it, actually. I have another one coming up though for a sports bra company called SheFit, that I'm going to actually be testing a little bit of like impact in sports bras, especially since I got the girls done a few years ago now. A lot of people wonder like what sports bra, high impact, blah, blah, blah. So doing a cool clothing review for them. But also that's stuff that when they approach me and they go, hey, Des, would love for you to do a review. That's when I think, okay, is this worth it? Oh yeah, I did do one with Zappel. One with Zappel before. And it was like a clothing try on haul. I picked out all my own clothes and like reviewed them very bluntly. So those are fun for me. And again, I pick which I want. I have plenty of reviews I could do and just get money, 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 but like I'm not gonna do some stupid thing I've never used before, or would never put like on my body. So that doesn't make sense.
For sure. The bra company, the sports bra company you were just talking about, caught my attention for a quick second because
Okay.
it is hard. for chestier girls to find like good supportive sports bras, but also look good in the gym and
Yes.
are good for
They're not,
different
like
activities.
bulky. Yeah, they're not like or they look like surgical bras. Yeah, so that's why I'm excited to use this one because I just had quite a few people actually reach out and they're like, Des, like, what do you run in? I'm like, first off, honey, I don't run. But second off, if you're looking for support, I don't really know. This one I have on right now, actually from Lululemon's pretty good, but other than that, I couldn't really tell you. Maybe some high neck support that I have from Buff Bunny collection, but again, like they're not real. So for natural chestier women, it might like that weight is carried differently, right? So to be able to do that, like that'll be kind of fun. Like love that.
For
Love.
sure. Yeah, my sister, she's actually 2 years younger than me, but she is a heavier chest than me actually, and she, she's funny when she tries on sports bras because she's like, it feels like I'm putting a harness on my body, like,
Really, like
like I don't want that.
so yeah, we don't want that at all. We don't need that. So well, look forward to that. You might like that one.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely will. So moving a little bit more onto the entrepreneurship talk.
Yeah.
So you actually, I guess it's kind of crossing topics here, but I noticed you were wearing, is that the Buff Bunny like teddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, it's a teddy coat.
You went to the holiday launch party, or was
Yes.
it a launch party or just holiday party?
It was a holiday party, yeah.
So how was that? So Heidi flew a bunch of influencers out, and
Yep.
did you guys do like a photo shoot for the newest line as well while you're out there?
Yeah, so we got there. I think we got there Thursday. Thursday we all kind of hung out, meet up with the girls that flew in, and then Friday we did an all-day shoot at the Queen's Landing, which is like her new headquarters. So breathtakingly beautiful. Like seeing where this company has grown with like within the past 2 years is it's just so inspiring and also it's so cool to see what we as influencers have had impact to build because sure Heidi has so much reach, please don't get me wrong, but a lot of influencer marketing is driving sales. Like truthfully, only Heidi can promote her own clothing so much and people are like I want to believe you, like duh, but to hear it from other people like me or whoever else is affiliated, that's when you find true beliefs and people want to review and try. So seeing what as influencers we've also helped her grow to, it's just so beautiful and she respects that also so much. Like she's so grateful for us and she showed that and it was so cute, it was so fun and like I said, just inspiring to just see her in her own space now versus like a little it was like a 15 by 15 room. I mean, it was nothing and now she has this beautiful like 3-story, technically I think 4-story.
With attic.
It's so awesome. Like it was so cool. So it was fun and again like getting into like around influencers, I would confidently say Buff Bunny has a really great team of people that are really genuine, all different walks of fitness in life, just period. Not even like super fit, just different walks of life. And so it's cool to like meet and connect with those girls because you never really walk away with a negative experience versus maybe some brands that are super saturated. So you'll have like those in clicks, right? But Buff Bunny, she has done a great job at just putting together the team that is everyone brings something different. It's very unique.
So I have to ask, did Max Tuning bring any sour strips to the party?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We had a ton. I think he gave us all two
Like
like two
bags?
like our goodie bags. Yep. And then he actually was kind enough to put me on the PR list. So now he sends them to me during like before their launches so I can help him promote. And again, it's cool. It's so nice to see like people just genuinely encouraging other influencers and creators and collaborating them together. Again, we're all better together. There's enough consumers out there for everyone. So I think collaborations and promoting, the people that you love and you believe in and you like is so powerful.
Yeah, huge key to success for sure.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite flavor?
Uh, it's in between because I'm like a cherry, like I'm a strawberry berry person. So the like red cherry, like love that. However, the mango,
That one's so unbelievably good.
it's so good. It is like when you go to Target and you buy the like dried mango slices. I mean, it's literally what it tastes like, which virtually made with probably like the same ingredients. But it's probably my favorite. But again, like I'm like a fruity person. So like, but like sweeter fruits, not like blue raz. Like I don't really like the tart. or like the rainbow strip. It's like not bad, but just not my favorite. But the mango, I can't let it go. Like, oh my gosh, it's so good.
See what you did there.
Yeah, I don't.
So did you work with Alphalete at all? Like, did you get to work out at Alphalete Gym and any of that when you were down there? Talk to Christian at all?
Yeah, we always work out at Alphalete Gym. It's so close to like where they put us up, usually in the hotel, and it's nice to get your lifts in there because the energy there is just so lit, and you can record and selfie, and no one gives a crap. Like no one cares. The only weird thing is that a lot of us on Buff Bunny actually don't collaborate with Alphalete at all. So Heidi and Christian, although they're like the dynamic duo, they do keep themselves very separately business wise, which I think is so smart. Um, I wear Alphalete. Like I've bought quite a few things when I'm down there from like the store that they have at the gym, just because online ordering is annoying to me. But I have bought from them, and I think that again, I think they're both run very, very well, like well driven and ran companies. So I'll always support them. I would love to like work with them a little bit more, just because I think again that power of having the same people, like people just love, like they love that. They're like, oh my gosh, you work with Buff Bunny and Alpha Lee, like I love them both. And so it's kind of cool. That hasn't happened yet. Like I might reach out to Christian and just be like, hey, I'd love to promote because I love their stuff. But it's also something where you have to, I don't want to like be ringing up 900 different clothing brands, although I wear them all. I don't want to overload my literally my consumers either. So to just wear them right now, support them and tag them and bring in, whatever I can to them separately is completely fine.
Right. Let just like the rest kind of happen type
Yeah,
thing.
whatever. Yeah.
So, okay, now getting more onto the entrepreneurship talk then, I guess
Yeah.
specifically, when did you realize you could make something out of your social medias? Like, was it a gradual thing, or was there a moment you're like, wow, crap, this is actually taking off? Like, people care what I have to say. I'm starting to build a following consistently.
Yeah, so I started my Instagram. Well, my Instagram's my natural, like my forever Instagram. So like if you want to scroll back, I don't encourage, but if you want to, you can see me all through high school, college, shotgun and beers, whatever you want to do, you can roll back there. But I kind of just naturally began to just share what my life was, and my life just evolved into health and wellness. That was just kind of all I had. So as I continued to share that, um, it was my first supplement company. It was called Rev Labs. They're actually still around. Best chocolate protein I've ever had. I'll still give that to them. Like, I don't know why. It was great. But they were the first company to reach out to me, and I had a little code. It was 20% off, like woohoo. And this was January of 2017. And the first month that I did the code, I had about 5,000 followers, just hit 5K, and I made $33 off my commission. And I was just kind of like, that's going to get me my new outfit for this weekend. Like, let's go. And so that was kind of like, I vividly remember getting that like notification of payment and just being like, I just made money promoting what I like. Like that is so cool. So that year was kind of a discovery year for me. And then so that was like January of 2017. August, or I'm sorry, September. Nope, it was August of 2017. That's when I launched my first fit guide and my first challenge. So throughout that year, like, yeah, I was making money. I had some like one-on-one clients, workout clients only. I wasn't doing nutrition yet because I was not qualified or educated to pursue that yet. Wasn't done with school. So I waited on that, launched my first guide in August, and it was just like, I think I had like 300 girls. And at this time I was at about 30 to 40,000 followers. So I had grown pretty quickly, and it was like my first big chunk of income. And I was just like, I just worked so hard on this, and I actually did make money. Cause like when you're creating it and you haven't launched anything before, you're kind of like,
Worried.
does this stuff really sell? Like at this time, all the Gymshark girls were starting to come out with programs. Nikki Blackheader had a program. Amanda Bucci was running programs. So I was like, are people going to buy mine? Like, what? So then that was kind of, again, one of those clarity moments where I was like, let's go. Like, let's go. Let's keep building this community that I have. And those were kind of my two big, like, spring awakenings of like, oh my gosh, this is like real. This is real. And I can like work. I can do this.
That's amazing. So how did you grow your platforms? Did you like schedule things? Did you like how did you kind of plan it all out? And I guess how would you suggest people with a smaller following to build their audiences?
Yeah, I think when I first started, first off, let me just say though that Instagram was way different. Which is so it's really sad. Like it's super sad how much it's just kind of evolved and changed, which with the way people started making revenue on Instagram, of course they had to do something different because they're a free app. You can't blame them in a marketing scheme of things. However, it does suck for smaller influencers now, even bigger influencers. Like it's hard for us to grow too. It's not everyone is struggling in different relative ways. But when I first started, no matter what, I think the best thing that you can do and what I did is just come out with a bang. I mean, unapologetically you from the start, because the last thing you want to do is play it a little bit reserved or play it a little bit over, kind of create a fake persona to where then when that real you comes out, because you're like, oh man, I've been faking this for a year. Like, I just want to act like this. That's the minute that you've built this audience on this persona. And when they see that change, they're going to be like, this isn't what I like anymore. There's a difference between evolution of a natural person and then the persona that sometimes people create with social media. So like you think of people like Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they're not that crazy in real life. Like they're not. I guarantee you take that video camera off them, they're two normal dudes who love to hang out, whatever, but they've created a persona for their audience that their audience just eats up. So I mean, I would only assume that has to be tiring, even though they're so successful. So being just you from the start, I think helps a lot. And showing up, being vocal with your audience, not being scared to get on your Instagram stories and talk and just shoot the crap. No one cares, but the people that do care, that will harvest such a special relationship with them and responding back. Like even now, I respond back to every single comment on my posts. I don't care how many there are. Sometimes it just gets overwhelming and mentally I have to be like, okay, I can't, I'm 200 behind. This is not going to happen. But for the most part, I stay on top of it. And I think that is, again, drastically driven a lot of people to not only keep engaging with me because they know they'll hear back, but also continue to show that I'm just another person showing up, encouraging you. And if you are taking time on my post, I'm going to take time on yours. I'm going to go back and I'm going to creep on your profile and I'm going to hit you with a hype comment. So I think that just when those people are giving to you, small influencer or big influencer, you have to give back. And that is like the least you can do for these people that are supporting you, whether you're making thousands of dollars or you're making a couple bucks a month. It's still people that are choosing to support you when they do not have to, like at all. They literally don't. Sure, some of them get like 20% off. That's dope. But guess what? All you have to do is type in hashtag Tula and you'll find 900 other people probably with a code. So, but how do you make them love you and support you? Or I shouldn't say how do you make them, but how do you harvest that relationship? How do you grow that with them? And so that's kind of my biggest takeaway is there's a lot of people out there with a lot of followers and they don't make any money because they have no relationship. So never correlate where you can be in your business off following. Would it help to have some more followers or to reach more people? Duh, that followers can be more people that you convert to consumers. But always just driving home a deeper and wider relationship, or driving home a wider relationship, not always a deeper relationship, is also better too. Because I don't think if I had 200 more thousand followers, I don't think I could comment back to everyone. And maybe that would decrease my sales because they wouldn't feel like I'm on that level with them anymore. So being just grateful for what you have and digging really deep and answering every DM and replying to people's stories who even you don't follow, love that. Sometimes I'll just go through, like, I don't know if you go through your feed where it shows you who liked your stuff, but some of them have like that red circle around them, which means they have a story. I'll go through random people's stories and I'll just be like, oh my gosh, that looks delicious. Or like whatever, just because, again, you want to give back to those people who are giving back and spending time watching you.
100%.
It was long-winded, but I'm passionate about it because a lot of people don't do it and they don't appreciate it.
Girl, it's a podcast. You can get as detailed as you want.
This is why I need a podcast. I could just talk for years.
So my next question being then, when did you realize that monetizing your following in terms of creating a product or service was the best option for your growth as an entrepreneur, and how did it make that come to life?
Literally right away. I think that's something that a lot of people have even told me. They're like, Des, like you were the first person that I really followed from a low point of like, not a lot of followers who immediately was monetizing. And I think if that's something you want to do, again, you have to go in with that intention or else you're going to get to 100,000, right? And you're going to be like, hey guys, buy my stuff. And they're going to be like, hold up. I thought this was all free. Like, I don't like this, right? Because it's like, okay, now I have to pay for no, like this isn't okay. So the minute, again, you have to set up with that intention of who am I going to be? What am I creating? Am I just an influencer? Am I an entrepreneur? There is a pure difference between an influencer and an entrepreneur. So do you want to create your own business? Do you want to just be a person of influence and kind of do really fun reviews and blah, blah, blah? Maybe drop some merch sometime, sure. Or do you want to create, physical products? Do you want to ship stuff? Do you want to host events? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? So I think immediately out of the gate, because I immediately created, I got codes right away and kind of had this intention of building and being someone in this industry. I knew immediately I wanted to create something. So I was in an unpaid internship starting that January of 2017 when I kind of started my Instagram, and up until I graduated college, which was May. So during that time, I had no money coming in and I had to figure it out. So I was selling workout programs personalized person to person for just 40 bucks. That's how I create, so I'm immediately going, hey guys, yeah, I do this. I went to school for this. It's going to be 40 bucks because this is my education. This is my qualifications, etc. So that was how I kind of coined it right away. So again, like if you're a small business out there and you have a product or something that you're wanting to pursue and you're like, well, I just don't have enough following yet, so like I don't want to do it yet, that is not the right answer. Like you want to just go for it right away. So as you continue to build that following and continue to build that rapport, people already know what you're about. They come to your page, they know what you sell or what your business is, and they can hop right in or stay out. You want to create that precedent from the start.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about views on social media then. So there was one story I remember you were quite upset. It was a couple weeks ago, and you were in your closet, I think, and
Oh,
you were like really upset. And I remember emailing you that day, and you still responded, and I was like, "This girl is like a superhero." Like I don't think that if I was that upset, I would have been able to like still stay on the platform and be able to connect with my large following and like not put up a front because it's not what I thought you were doing at all, but like the fact that you're like, I'm just gonna keep pushing through. So I just want to touch on that because I thought
yeah.
that was like a really special moment because then a couple of days later you had another story in the closet. You're like, I'm not crying this time, like
No.
I'm back.
Yeah, no, I mean, social media can be such a blessing, such a curse. And again, even on the days where I get just that one negative person, right? I'm like, dang, God really isn't giving me what I want because I don't think what I really want, which is a bigger platform and the power to reach more people. I don't know if I could handle that right now, mentally. I don't know if I could handle people attacking me and my values and my morals. Because as you become bigger, sadly, that is just what's going to happen. I don't care how great you are. I don't care how nice you are. It's inevitable. So when I was in the when I was in the closet crying, it was one of those days where I just received a message and it just tore me up. And especially because the people that are behind the keyboard, first and foremost, are probably never watching your stories, right? They're probably never really watching you to understand who you are, what you love, how much you help people. And I'm not the one to also like put out what all I do for people. So I do so much stuff, in the background that just makes me feel good to help others that I'm not going to flex that to people, right? Like, oh guys, just donated this much. Like no one needs to know. So when people try to attack my integrity and who I am as a person and my passion and my love for other humans, it freaking hurts. And even if it's just one person, it ruins my whole day. So that day, it was just one of those breaking point days, and on top of like probably PMS and being in a rental house, all these things combined where I was just like, I showed up and I'm like, dude, today sucks. Like today kind of sucks. And It's not a bad life. It's a bad day, but it's a bad enough day where I need to remove myself from this environment. Love you guys, but I got to go. During that time, I stayed silent on social media, but I still try to keep up on my DMs because, in my opinion, to go out of your way to DM someone or email someone, that is an effort. To like a post, to quickly comment on a post, it's really not that hard. Like on Instagram, if you think of how active you are just on the home page, but to physically go out of your way to type out a message, that is actual effort. So I tried to keep up on at least a few DMs that I felt mentally okay, like scrolling through and reading, because the last thing I needed to do was see another negative one. But it's kind of during that time where like I didn't want to show up for everyone in public, but for the people that are continuing to show up for me on like in the background, I want to be there for them and just be like, thank you so much.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
I give you so much props for that because yeah, like I said, I if I had a breakdown, I would be like shutting the whole world out for like a while.
Right. Well, and I do, but the relationship that I've harvested with my community, like I feel so open to sharing most of my life on social media. There are parts of my life that I keep private, and for a specific reason. They're my little diamond in my little pearl in my little shell that I like to keep to myself. But for the most part, not enough people are vulnerable enough to a point where you just remain very human with people. And that's when all of a sudden people put you on this like celebrity pedestal, and it's like, honey, I'm in a rental house right now with a futon, and that's it. Like we are on the same level, honey. Don't worry about it. So I think showing up and showing those vulnerable sides when necessary is very powerful and can just be a reminder to people that it's sometimes it can just suck, and that's okay.
Right, right. So I feel like you already answered this question, but if you could only choose one platform, which would it be?
Um, Honestly, it's in between because I think Instagram, obviously, I've already grown like a large platform on Instagram. So I'd be dumb not to choose it. However, if I could really be good at one thing, it would truly be like a podcast or YouTube. Like I wish that's kind of where I made my big breakthrough first. Just because I think it's so much more exclusive. Like you don't have to scroll through anyone's feed. You don't have to watch anyone else. It's just you and that relationship and that community you have. Um, but yeah, that would be like my personal thought.
Okay, okay. So let's get into some fun topics then, into some
Okay.
like personal life and all that.
Yes.
So, hobbies. When and where did you develop your interest in shuffling? Because every video I watch, I just like want to see more, and I'm like, no, other influencers like this fun. It just like shares their little like combo that they've created. I'm assuming you created.
Yes. Yes. So shuffling, yes, I usually create my own combos because I think that's the beauty of shuffling or even just dancing in general is you just like vibe, right? Like what is my body feeling? How is it feeling with the music? And you just kind of rock with it. So shuffling, I got really inspired when I went to my first fest at Coachella. I always watch shuffling videos because I think like dance, if I could have been a dancer, I totally would have been because I love it. But being an athlete, in a three, four sport athlete, my parents just like couldn't take me to a dance class. It was like not it. So I think picking it up and just learning it for fun was so great, especially when I was in Florida. It's a little bit harder now being here in Ohio, but I think in the summer, like it'll get back to me like being outside and having fun. But it was just something that I picked up and I knew that I was like really awkward with it first, but I knew I wanted to get better at it. So it was just one of those things that you're so focused on the beat and like what's playing in your head and where that musicality is, like you really cannot think about anything else. And so when you're in the gym and you're in between a rest break, you can get to thinking about, oh well, shoot, I have this bill due, I have to meet up with X, Y, and Z, I have to do this. But when you're dancing or even just like in doing just something active, you don't really have the time to like sit and think about what's next, other than a physical step, a dance. So it's just so fun. It's so freeing to me, and again, it was just something I knew I wanted to learn so that I could have that escape and that fun outdoor activity.
Does your husband shuffle?
No, absolutely not.
Does he dance at all?
He'll cheer me on. Yeah, he can dance. Like he can dance. Don't get me wrong, but not like a all right, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Like not like a organized dance.
So where did you learn? Like, did you just watch videos on it and get like tutorials?
Yeah, I literally just watch videos. I'm not a tutorial person, and I'm not someone that can learn with steps. I just have to watch over and over and over. So like I'm a visual learner, so I would just watch like my favorite shufflers or even just YouTube compilations of like shuffle, and I would just rewind and watch like their feet and just okay, so they rock their left foot forward while their right came across, okay, and then they threw this in with their arms, and I would just go and practice that one move on beat. So I would do like my typical running man, which is like bass. You just need to get good at that first. And then I would just try to add in that move on beat. And then I would just go back to my typical running man because I was safe there. And then the next beat drop, I would try that move again. So it was very much self-taught in the aspect of like I had to just do it and feel it and vibe it versus like watching a shuffle video with like, all right, first we're gonna like bring our right knee up and put it down. That was just confusing to me.
Yeah, it's not like you went to a class and everyone's like, okay, this is how you learn to shuffle.
Yeah, I did go to one workshop for EDC. I went to Vanessa Secco's workshop. First like shuffle, first dance class, right? Like, and it was fun. It was definitely something where I would go to another one, but it was just so packed. I'm like, I'd rather have a one-on-one coach and like learn. That would be super fun. I think I could do that like in person, but when it came to like videos on like Instagram, like YouTube tutorials, it just like I can't learn from like a mirrored image, right? I need like a person in front of me.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So do you have any other interests that don't involve fitness that like you haven't really shared on social media, or maybe you have, but just not shed a lot of light on it?
Um, I mean, I love like taking pictures. Like I love like photography. Like I did my sister's wedding and like her baby shower and stuff like that. Like I love that type of stuff. I'm not like super good at it, but it's just like something if I get behind a camera, like I know angles. So I love taking pictures for like my friends or whatever. But I think outside of that, really just like I love board games, like with like Wyatt. I love game nights and stuff. I love skiing. Skiing has been a new found like thing of mine.
Just
And
like
like
alpine?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy yet.
Would you do any like rails or boxes? Like
I
getting
would
right?
try, yeah. Like if I got better for sure. I tried snowboarding and I'm not bad at it for like a beginner, like my first few runs, like really not bad. But it's just I have bad knees and a bad back. So like to get the act of getting up and down, because you have to like put your bindings on like and take them off every single time. It's just like hard on my body. So I think skiing, like getting really good at skiing would be better for me. But I think anything true crime too. Is that a hobby? True crime?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll go with that. Anything solving cases. I'm just kidding. But I love true crime. I love just like reading about it and watching documentaries and stuff like that.
Amazing. So let's get on to your relationship then. How did you and your husband meet? Like, were you doing an activity? Was it just in a class?
We were drinking. Um but we were well, it's a mix because technically we met in the dorms, like in the hallway. He came in as a freshman, and then this was when I transferred in as a sophomore. So I'm older than him, only by like 9 months, but technically in like school we were like a year apart. So when he came in as a freshman, my friend, since he was on the football team and I was on the volleyball team, my friend was like, "Hey, that's Wyatt from the football team." And I looked back and I was like, "Hi, I'm Des." He's like, "Hi, I'm Wyatt." And at this time, he had a man bun. Oh my god, yeah. So I was like, he's he's cute. Okay. And then but it was August, so we were all in preseasons and we were all in season, and they like the schools awkwardly purposely keep volleyball and football away from each other. Like we were literally in different sports facilities as well as different like we could never go to football games because we were always away when they were home. Like it's so weird. So we never really got to like correspond with football team other than when we would come home from our games on Fridays. They would get done with their games on Fridays and we'd like just go out and rage on the weekends. So this was like a few weekends after my volleyball career was like ended. Like I was done playing at the university, and we went out, and this was literally the weekend where I was like, told my friend, I was like, you know what? I'm so done with guys. I am so over it. I'm not going after anyone. I am just single and gonna find myself, all that. My friends like, go sis, like go sis. And then that night, I we were out and he was out with us, which again, like just didn't really happen a lot. We didn't always connect like out. And I looked at my friend, I was like on a table dancing with her, not a pool. We were on a coffee table, let me get that straight. And I looked at my friend, I was like, I just really want to kiss Wyatt. And she was like, do it or I will. She was just encouraging me, I think.
Okay.
I think.
Are you guys still friends?
Yeah. So that was just like kind of what pushed me to do it. And so from that night forward, we like kissed that one time. That was it. And then we exchanged phone numbers. We started following each other on Instagram. He started like liking my posts. I would like his back. And then all of a sudden we had our class together. We ended up having a class. So we started like studying together, like real studying. Let me get that straight. We were actually studying, but during that time we just kind of got to know each other, and before you know it, it was like May. We were getting out of school, or yeah, it was May, and he asked me to come home with him to like meet his family, and then like that's the weekend we like started dating. So we talked for about like 2 months before we started dating. And we would like just hang out, like go out on the weekends, like reconnect during the week. He'd come over in between his lunch classes or whatever, and it was very low key. And then we started dating and haven't looked back.
That's crazy. So how many years did you date and then he proposed?
We were together 3.5 years before he proposed. And then we were together officially like 4.5 before we got married. And then this year in May will be 5 years. So like
Wow.
total 5. I know, it's crazy. We were looking back at our pictures the other night, just like scrolling, and I was like, wow, like that's a long time. Like a lot has happened in that time. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, 5. Yeah, so much has happened. Like graduating school, starting your biz, growing your following. What does he do for a living, if you don't mind me asking?
He's in sales. So he did sales for a company down in Florida, and then he ended up quitting because we just wanted to come back home, and we're like, you know what, now's the time. You are allowed to be unemployed, and let me tell anyone out there too, like y'all are allowed to be unemployed. You can find what you're passionate about. You have every right to do that. But he was unemployed for a little bit and just recently got a new job, so he'll start in like a week or two. Same thing, sales, but this time more so like for private jets. So I might be flying private. Not really, but that's one goal of mine. I'm like, you just one time. I really want to just fly on a private plane just once.
Bucket list things.
I know. I'm like, I have to get a matching tracksuit. I have to get a big ass bag, and take that like cool sunglasses pic.
Yeah, Kylie Jenner, like
One
that's the life. Just one
one
day.
one time. If Gucci has a return policy, I'll buy all Gucci and go back, take it right back.
I love the way you think.
Just Photoshop out the tags.
So, were you long distance from your family then? Like, where are they located? Because you're in
Yeah,
Ohio.
they're 4 hours away, and even when I was in Florida, they were still like 4 hour flight. So like, no matter what, we're 4 hours now. But it's better because obviously I can walk and or not walk, drive, and actually see them. There's my husband. Oh.
And then your in-laws.
We're about 40 minutes from them.
Oh, okay, so you're real close.
Yep. So
Okay.
they're the ones based here in Ohio. My family's the one in Michigan.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, how did the home buying process go? Like, were you guys in an apartment first and then relocated, or were you living at one of your parents' houses?
Yeah. So we left Florida like literally on a whim. Like within a 2 week span, we were like, we're leaving and we're leaving on this date. So we didn't have anything set up here. We moved back into his mom's house, and the house was on the market. So we were also buying a house, and then they're also selling their house. So we're like, oh my God, like let's just hope we find something before we have to be out. Sadly, we don't get into our house until March 1st, but we found a really just like perfect rental home that we could have for however long we want. Like the rental people weren't like, 6 months, nothing like that. So it was month to month. So we're really lucky. We're like 13 minutes from our actual house going to be right now. So this will just do for the rest of the month, and then we're in our real house.
That's so exciting. This is your first one.
It's going to be really cool.
Is it like how many stories? Like is there a basement, main, and like top level or?
So finished basement, which we got so lucky. That was like something we really wanted but weren't picky about. But we have a finished basement. We have a main level with like, kitchen, dining, living room, and then top level with like 3 bedrooms and like a really cool lofted area.
Okay. And did you say you're 24 and he's 23?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh,
And it's
he's 24 now. He just had his birthday last week.
oh right. Your Instagram.
No, even I forgot. I'm like, I know he had a birthday, but you know how you're like stuck at one age forever.
Yeah.
Wyatt's probably always going to be 23 to me. So, and I'm always going to be 22. When people ask me, typically I'm like, yeah, I'm 22. Oops.
And then your home has a 2-car garage?
Yes.
Cool. And you and Wyatt have your own cars, or do you just
Yep.
use one as of now?
Yeah, we both have our own. We're hoping to get like a new car soon for him because he's been leasing for a few years, adult stuff, whatever. But that's kind of like one of our next goals after the house. It's like getting a really nice car so that we don't have to get another one, for like a long time.
Gotcha. So, what made you guys want to buy the house? Like, was there certain things you're looking at? You just need more space? Like, it was just the time to look?
Yeah, well, first off, we definitely needed a home. We knew that moving back here. Oh, hi. Moving back here, where we were going to be here for a while, and this is our home. Like this is where we want to have kids. This is where we want to have a family. So we knew we wanted to buy because renting is just outrageously dumb if you're in an area where you're gonna be. So we were like, we definitely need to buy a house. Started that home looking experience, and we stumbled across this one. We were the first viewing, first people to get in the house, and we immediately made an offer. We're like, this is perfect. We both had those like that just like feeling of like this is literally home. And then we put an offer in. They accepted exactly what we gave, and we started the process and closed a month later. So it was a really amazing process compared to I feel like some people like have or they're like literally in between so many homes. But for us, we saw about 12 to 14 houses, and this one it was just like, yeah, like forget everything else, this is awesome.
Yeah, you guys, I would say luck did play a little part in that too. That everything just fell so perfectly.
Yeah, well, everything happens for a reason, and we knew once that happened, we're like, this is so weird, we're meant to be here. Wyatt's new job coincidentally is literally 10 minutes away, and so it was awesome. It was like amazing God thing. Like, thank you for listening to your intuition and going home. I know it was scary. I know you had a lot of things in the air, but it all worked out really well.
Good, good. I'm so happy to hear that. So, how long did the actual home process buying take?
It was probably a month. I don't really know if we could have expedited it either. Like, I think we did pretty close to the books on what an average closing was and is. So it was about a month, but it did involve a lot of like paperwork and a lot of things on our end just to ensure that we had, tax forms and stuff to like prove our income and prove this. So if you're someone out there or looking to, buy a house or whatever, all I can say is like truly be organized. Like make sure you know where documents are, make sure that you're keeping track of those things and not losing them. Or if you're right out of college, like have a copy of your diploma or have your diploma. It's really important to have everything. It just makes it way easier on you, so you can just scan it, ship it over, and then they do the rest.
Okay. Well, it's good advice.
Yeah.
So did you want to be married before buying a home together, or have you lived together previously?
We lived together previously. We moved in together last August. So when we moved to Florida, that was our first time living together. Obviously in college, you like virtually live together, right? Like you're kind of back and forth at each other's houses. You're just having little summer parties, hanging out. But our actual like living experience was in August in Florida. So once we moved in and everything was normal, like just like we kind of expected. When we came back here, obviously at this point we were married, but we were like, okay, we're ready to like financially purchase a home together, so that it wasn't, you know, buying one as like a boyfriend and girlfriend or something. It's a little bit different. So being able to be husband and wife, like purchasing a home together, was what our goal was.
Okay, were your parents strict at all with like being like, "Oh, you need to have a ring on your finger before
No,
settling into this house"?
not really at all. I would say more of just being smart financially. Both of our last names are the same. We don't have to change anything legally on the documents and blah, blah, blah. Like, it would just be a pain in the ass to have a different last name and then have to change that on like the deed, the title, the homeowner's insurance, the loan, blah, blah, blah. So waiting for that was just easier for us. And our parents, my parents were pregnant with me before they were married. So they don't really even have room to speak, and they didn't care. They were just like, make sure that you both are on the same page of like just what your goals are and what your timelines are. And we very much were. So it worked out really well.
Good. So we just like killed all those questions.
We did.
One that I usually ask is, are you happy with the path that you're taking right now in life? Is there something you're excited for that's coming up? Something that you wish could change in the near future?
I think right now I'm just continuing to learn to be more content. I'm a person that's always striving for what's next, thinking about what's next, worrying about what's next versus being excited. So learning how to really just hone in on every day going like, wow, like look at what I've built, look at what I have. And taking it truly day by day is something I'm continuously learning. I'm trying to be better at that. So I think the one thing I'm most excited for is launching my monthly membership program for my app. Just something that will give my audience who maybe isn't in a financial place to like join my challenges or purchase my programs outright to still find that help, seek it, have so much value, have two qualified professionals, almost three. We just brought on a new coach. So having all of us just be there to support them, and have them just be able to invest in something for their health that's not going to break their bank. So I'm really excited to like give to that demographic that I haven't really been able to.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, is there anything else you want to add to the episode?
Not really. I guess, something that I just always end people with is just keep showing up. Like, I know a lot of people out there think that XYZ can't happen for them, or like they don't deserve it, or they don't think that they have the education to get there, or they don't have whatever. So whatever you're working towards, continue to educate yourself around it to be the best that you can be. But don't count yourself out just because you're not there yet. A lot of things take so much time. It's very few and far between where people gain success immediately. Don't get me wrong. There's some crazy stories out there. Crazy people have just taken off. But for the average person who's just grinding every day, doing something they love, it's just not going to happen like that. So keep pushing every day, maybe hoping that this could be my big break today. You never know what you're waking up to, but be patient and happy knowing that you're always on the upward slope, even though it sometimes might be like this. It's still overall progress going up.
Right, for sure. Is there social media that you want to link for everyone to go check you out at?
Of course, you guys can check me out at my Instagram. It's just Desb, Desb as in boy, but not a boy, fit as in fitness with 3 underscores. There you can pretty much be directed to any of my other platforms by clicking the link in my bio. My Twitter's linked, LinkedIn, my Facebook, my YouTube, all of that stuff is there. So I feel like as long as you find my Instagram, you can find everything else.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it so much to take, some time out of your busy day to connect with the listeners. And yeah, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being on today.
No, of course, you're welcome. Thank you for having me, and I hope that your listeners got something out of this, or even just kind of introduced to a different mindset.
I know that was kind of an abrupt ending, but we had some technical difficulties at the end there. But we were very fortunate to still be able to complete the podcast and have her say her last few words in the outro. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was definitely one of my favorites I've recorded thus far. And I really appreciate everyone that stays to listen all the way to the end. It means the absolute world. So I will see you guys in my next episode.